There is no true joy in conforming. But not everyone has what it takes to be different. Introducing a crossover coupe for those who have what it takes to break free. The all-new Infiniti QX55 with a dramatic style that defies expectations and turns heads. The Infiniti QX55. Lead the way. Let the world catch up.
Coming up.
When you're in this situation, you can feel very alone and isolated. And that's what an abuser wants you to feel like.
They let us know that somebody was found dead next door.
For Vault Studios, I'm Will Johnson. You're listening to The Daily Crime. A man is facing murder charges after police in Illinois say he killed his pregnant ex-girlfriend earlier this month.
To lose a child that way, and that baby is an extension of her mother and the rest of her family, so they lost a child as well. They lost two.
Right now, Deandra Holloway is locked up and faces multiple charges for a crime the police say was unthinkable.
Deandra Holloway was charged Monday with murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, and multiple other crimes in connection with the June 9th death of 22-year-old Lisa Dodd.
I adopted a rescue dog recently. She's the absolute best. I can't imagine my life without her. And it was incredibly important for me to research the shelter that I was getting her from. And they were great. They have the animal's best interests in mind. And they're working hard to find homes for actual rescue dogs. I really wish I didn't have to specify actual rescue dogs. But here's the thing. If you're not careful, you can be tricked when buying a dog. On the upcoming season of Smokescreen Puppy Kingpin, host Alex Schumann investigates the story of a secretive businesswoman accused of laundering puppies. Consumers thought they were getting rescue dogs, but without knowing it, they were actually supporting animal cruelty. The woman at the center of this has made millions, supplying puppies to people across America, sometimes even selling them without disclosing that they're sick. But now she's facing multiple lawsuits. Puppy Kingpin brings to light a side of our pet industry not enough of us are talking about, while unveiling some shady truths about a con artist taking advantage of it. You can subscribe to Smokescreen Puppy Kingpin on Apple Podcasts to binge all the episodes, or listen weekly wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm joined now by KSDK reporter Justina Coronel. Justina, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Lisa Dodd was discovered earlier this month. Can you tell us how she was found and who found her?
Yeah, so it's quite horrific and one of the more gruesome cases we have covered. So this happened back on June 9th, and we became aware on more June 13th, so just a few days ago, of what exactly happened. So the chief of police of Alton, it's in Illinois, and put a Facebook post, a video, and seemed very visibly upset. At that point, we learned more of the details. So basically, the mother of Lisa Dodd had not heard from her in a few days. And on June 9th, she went to go check up on her daughter, who just moved into her new apartment in the Alton area on June 9th. And when she got in, she found her daughter decapitated. At that point, the police chief of police says, there's one, death is already horrific, but to see your daughter in this manner is probably one of the worst things that could happen. And so at that point, they started their investigation. And through court documents, we learned that the person who did this had put her head in the dumpster outside. So from there, they have arrested a gentleman, a 22-year-old man. And so they believe that this man and her have been on and off for the last 2 years. And they believe, they have several charges against him, and they believe, that he is the person behind this. But again, this is now, he's held in police department there in jail, and he's on a $2 million bond. But yeah, the details are quite horrific.
Lisa Dodd would have turned 23 in August, and she was also pregnant, right?
Correct. So beyond being herself decapitated, she was 8 months pregnant. Her family was planning her baby shower in just about 2 weeks, so at the end of June, because she was due at the end of July. So and now they're planning a funeral for both of them because both died.
Can you tell us a little bit more about her and what we know about her?
So I was able to connect with their sister, and they said that, she was very loving and not only to people, but she loved animals. And I believe she was going to follow her mother's footsteps to be in the medical field. And her friends had nothing but great things to say about her, and that she was a loving and, caring woman, and she was going to be a great mom. And so I think right now there's a GoFundMe to help the family, and whatever they don't use, a lot of the money will be used for local animal shelters. Like I said, she loved animals, and for domestic violence resources.
She was just an amazing person. She was there for everybody. She just wanted to spread love everywhere. I should be able right now to just pick up the phone and call her. I just miss her.
This episode is sponsored by CuriosityStream, the streaming service with the best collection of documentary films and TV shows. New this week, we're digging for dinos, but in places a little cooler than you'd expect. Join the groundbreaking expedition revealing Antarctica's vibrant prehistoric past on Dinosaurs of the Frozen Continent, now on CuriosityStream. Get an annual plan for just $20. That's $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com to sign up today.
5X480. Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching, but a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do we know much of anything about how they were able to track down the suspect in this case?
So I believe it's convoluted, but essentially, I believe he was back at where in a different county from where he was living, and it was through, I think, another crime that he was caught. And so they were able to work with other police departments, and really the police work, connecting with other departments had helped. They realized that he was also connected to this. So it was through another crime he had been arrested. And then they realized, they put two and two together to realize that he was also involved in this. And I think where he was, I think it was in Litchfield, still in Illinois, in the same somewhat area.
Have police been asked, or do we know if he was the father of the child?
I have asked the on police chief, and they have not answered that yet. So I don't know if he was or not. But we do know that they had been on and off for the last 2 years, for sure.
Has there been any signs of domestic violence or real issues in the relationship?
So the sister had not said anything that I'm aware of to our reporter. I had talked to her friend, and they said that they had been worried about their, Lisa, and telling her for the last couple of years that she needed to get out of this relationship. And one thing that really, hurt my heart when they were saying, we had told her, get out because he's going to kill you. And she said, we didn't actually think he would kill her. And I know the chief had said that please pray for our domestic violence victims and survivors. And I know now they're donating money for domestic violence resources. So while the family, I don't know if they knew or not, or they haven't said, but I believe that is the case.
What is he now charged with?
He is charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of intentional homicide of an unborn child, dismembering a human body, concealing a homicidal death, and possession of a stolen vehicle.
We talked about domestic violence and the family maybe having some real concerns about the relationship. It sounds like we don't have any record of charges related to that. Okay. But nonetheless, in any case like this, there's always a lot of information out there about domestic violence resources and people getting help before something terrible happens.
Right. So I actually cover a lot of these cases in general. I actually volunteer, and I'm on the board for domestic violence organizations here in the St. Louis area. And unfortunately, we have seen a rise in domestic violence, but not only just a rise in cases, but the aggressiveness and the severity of these cases, right? A lot of now times we're covering triple or quadruple homicides. And just in this case, I mean, how volatile the nature of this death was. And there are so many resources out there. And I think when you're in this situation, you can feel very alone and isolated. And that's what an abuser wants you to feel like. He wants you to feel isolated. I mean, it's a part of their mechanism of control. But there are so many great resources. There's no judgment. And I think it is one of the scariest things for sure to leave an abusive relationship. And that is the biggest advice that we give to our victims and survivors, is that we need to have a safety plan if they are going to be leaving, if they are going to be filing an order of protection. It's not to scare them, but it is one of the most lethal times. Those 72 hours is when that shift of control happens. It is one of the scariest times because that is more likely when something like this could happen. But we want to empower them and tell them, hey, there's a safety plan and we can come up with ways to really protect you. But there are a ton of resources and a lot of organizations that are doing just great stuff, not only in St. Louis, but all over.
Justina Coronel, Channel 5 KSDK in St. Louis. Thanks for talking to us about this really difficult case.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Daily Crime. We're here every weekday, Monday through Friday. Be sure to subscribe to the show and give us a great review if you like what you hear. And if you'd like to learn more about the show and Vault Studios, check out our Facebook group, Inside the Crime Vault.
That's the sound of a crack in the ceiling found at a home inspection. But with a Realtor by your side, a newfound leak might only cause minor worries. With their expertise, a Realtor can suggest a credit at closing and even connect you to a contractor to help you shore up that leak and alleviate your worries. When it comes to cracks in your plans, the expertise of a Realtor can make all the difference. The difference between an agent and a Realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.